welcome to the channel. I'm Nico, and welcome back to my Fnaf review series. This is part 6, and today we're going to be reviewing Five Nights at Freddy's 6, also known as Pizzeria Simulator. The supposed end of Five Nights at Freddy's. How is it the supposed end, you may ask? Well, let's start the review and find out. Also, I just wanted to let you guys know before we get into the review that, this review may be a little more shorter than the others. Well, at least I'm hoping, because, well, you'll see why. Because a lot of the game is pretty much linear and it's the same thing, so I'll go over it right now. Anyways, upon starting Five Nights at Freddy's 6, you will immediately play a little mini game that will, of course, be of you being able to where you get to select your own pizza and, of course, feed some children. Now, upon entering level 3, things get weird right out of the back as the mini game starts to bug out and glitch until your screen immediately turns to black. Upon lining up again, you'll be right in front of what seems to be a broken down looking circus baby. So yeah, it just dumps you right into it, making you think it's just going to be some kind of pizzeria simulator, but of course not. This is FNAF 6. Anyways though, you hear some strange man on a, ominous man on a VHS tape saying that you are under paragraph 4 and that you not have only been searching out the back alley like you were supposed to after every shift, but that also means you must also complete the maintenance checklist and, of course, for response times after a specific type of audio is played. This will, of course, continue until you get to around the 3rd audio play before the ominous guy is cut off at 3, before Circus Baby cuts in saying 2, then 1. Before, of course, looking at you, cutting the screen to black once again, as you then get your official intro screen of what seems to be the voice actor for the hand unit from FNAF 6 location, telling you to become a Fazbear franchisee, and that it's time to take a gamble on your future and become the great opportuneur that we all know you can be. Before, of course, dumping you onto the actual pizzeria simulator, where you get to buy your own things, you have your money, pretty much just making your own pizzeria. You can also, of course, accept sponsorships and more. And, of course, play your games, play test them, and all that. It's all pretty self-explanatory when you enter the game, so let's actually get into the first night of the game. After you're finished editing your pizzeria, you will then start your official night, and where the hand unit, of course, explains how your restaurant is now open, in that he pretty much acts as the phone guy, but only for night 1, as he will pretty much explain everything right off the bat, your equipment, your mechanics, and what you'll be doing, and of course how to protect yourself for any rogue animatronics that may or may not be in the vents around you. So yeah, all that's pretty self-explanatory. Anyways, upon beating night 1, in which there will be no animatronics, you will actually have to salvage screen, where now you must do the after in-game night and do a salvage, which of course requires you to complete the maintenance checklist and, of course, to salvage the animatronic or throw it out into the back alley and forfeiting payment, which the choice is up to you. So you may either salvage the animatronic for money, or of course you can just throw it out the back alley. Now, if you actually do choose to salvage it, not only do you get the money, but it is inside of your pizzeria, meaning that any animatronic that you salvage will be added onto your night, meaning the game's difficulty is based on how many of the animatronics you salvage. But of course, you want to get the actual ending of the game, which you can only get by actually collecting each of the animatronics, salvaging them. So you must salvage all the animatronics in order to even get the canon ending. So, that said, every other night is pretty much self-explanatory, because there's not any significant mechanic, and everything kind of just stays the same. Like, you just do your pizzeria simulator, and you, of course, do your in-game nights, and, of course, salvaging. And you'll see all your familiar faces, such as Scrap Baby, Molten Freddy, Afton, aka Scrap Trap, aka Purple Guy, aka Spring Trap, and of course Lefty. And you might be wondering, who the frick is Lefty, and why does he look like a different colored Rockstar Freddy, which we'll get into in a bit. Anyways though, the nights pretty much progress in the same way and pretty much don't change at all until night 6. Upon beating night 6, you'll then get an audio. You'll then hear some audio from Circus Baby saying you thought this job came out of the sky for you. No, and that it was a gift for them. For them. As she'll also explain how that you've gathered all the souls in one place and now that they can do what they were made to do, and she will ask you to watch and listen and be whole. Before, of course, getting cut off by the ominous guy from the cassette tapes, which we'll later learn is Henry, who is William Afton's old business partner. As he then finally wraps everything up, lore, and of course explains how he's burning the animatronics and the pizzeria down to release the final souls that are left over, and of course saying his goodbyes to the lost souls and of course his old business partner before, of course, like I said, burning down the place, destroying them and you with it. As you may also realize that you've also played as Michael Afton, which it's not explained in the game, but in lore you are playing as Michael Afton in this game, working with Henry to finally end everything, but you do die with everything being burned down. So after everything being wrapped up in a bow, the FNAF series supposedly over, you of course finally get some of Hand Unit talking to you how you got the certificate of completion and now you don't have to even come to work tomorrow as Fazbear Entertainment is no longer a working entity. And to thank you for taking this trip along with us before, of course, rolling the credits, which is the supposed ending of the game. Anyways, though, with that said, it's very freaking simple, so let's actually get into the mechanics of the game. Now, I'm not going to explain the pizzeria mechanics because that would take too long, plus it's, again, self-explanatory. So we'll get into the in-game night. The in-game night mechanics, you have a few things at your disposal to help you from the animatronics. You also got 2 vents and a flashlight. If you look into the vents with your flashlight, it'll definitely keep something from popping into your office. And then, of course, on your terminal, you can actually have a few things to help you. You have a motion sensor, which you can help you to see where the animatronics are in the vents. And, of course, you also got silent ventilation, which also actually helps you stay quiet while you have your fan on. Which I may not have mentioned, that sound is a huge thing in this game, as you want to make sure you're not making much noise at all. Because if you hear something in the vents, you want to turn off your terminal and or vents or air conditioning, and of course look into the vent that you think an animatronic's about to come from to get them to go away. Because your terminal and of course ventilation systems are pretty loud. So the silent ventilation makes it so you can use your ventilation without making any sounds. Meaning you would only have to really close off your terminal. Which is also bad though because you need it on to do the tasks. As each night isn't dependent on time. It is dependent completely on you. Meaning each night can potentially be as long as literally possible. Until you finish all of your tasks. Meaning that all the nights can actually drag on to be for a long while. Anyways though, you finally of course have your audio lure, which can also actually help with finding the animatronics in the vents. So like it kind of makes the motion sensor obsolete since you can just lure the animatronics and of course just see where they are in the air vents. So yeah, that pretty much makes the motion sensor pretty much useless. And I'm sure there's some use for the silent ventilation. I just couldn't find anything about that. But you do also have air conditioning, meaning you must have your air conditioning on to keep you cooled down, because if it reaches 120 degrees Fahrenheit, then you will pass out and you will definitely die. So, yeah, and I think that's pretty much the mechanics of the main game nights, other than the animatronics, which they just move around in the vents, honestly. They just move randomly around in the vents. You must pay attention to them, flash your light in the vents to make sure they don't move or anything, like, don't kill you, of course. You gotta know where they are, which vents they're gonna come from. There's some very small audio cues, but like, I couldn't really hear anything because I don't play with headphones, so I had to do a whole strategy where I didn't even have to rely on listening. Anyways though, the animatronics all have the same mechanics. There's no real any unique animatronic. They all just move around, and it like as the nights continue, they move around a lot faster and stuff like that. So yeah, and the audio lure doesn't always work, mainly because of how much sound is going on in your own terminal. So yeah, with that said, let's get on to the salvage game mode, which of course is also pretty self-explanatory, but I'll explain it real quickly. You're given a taser with 3 shocks, and if you feel if the animatronic is actually becoming active or aggressive, you must shock the animatronic, as you cannot shock it more than 3 times, as that will start decreasing its value. So you got 3 shocks before decreasing its value. Use them wisely, because if you don't shock them at all, they'll most definitely kill you, and you want to use them sparingly. So yeah, just try to conserve your shocks between knowing if the animatronic's gonna attack or not, which is pretty freaking random. So good luck. I have a strategy for this, but I'm not telling anyone. Anyways, with that, that's pretty much all the mechanics of the game, really. Let's get onto the animatronic designs. And in terms of animatronic designs, I don't really like the animatronic designs in this game that much at all. I think they're just really rushed and bland, because, like, of course some of the, of course they're heavily detailed, but, like, the idea of the animatronics in this game is pretty boring. Like, Molten Freddy's just Ennard with Funtime Freddy's mask and voice. Scrap Baby is, like, actually, honestly, Scrap Baby's the only animatronic I give a pass here, because it makes her look freaking creepy, but, like, why does she look so different? You know what I mean? It's kind of irrelevant that she's even here right now, since she's supposed to be part of the Ennard crew. So why is Ennard trying to be Funtime Freddy, and Baby's somehow not even a part of him? Like, it's very weird. Anyways, for Afton, I like Afton, but, like, his design is very questionable. It's way too different from the original Springtrap design, and honestly, he has a peanut head that reminds me of Jimmy Neutron. I do not know why. Yeah, anyways, finally on to Lefty, and this kind of pisses me off, because I'm like, why you make Lefty a freaking character in this in the first place? Like, and I mean as, like, an antagonist, like an animatronic that can kill you. I'm like, why? It's just a recolored Rockstar Freddy with a missing eye. Like, that makes no sense. It pisses me off. It's so boring and bland. Like, quite literally is just Rockstar Freddy, but recolored. Like, it's ridiculous. Now, I do find the whole lore behind Lefty, like, as in, like, Lefty being an acronym for encapsulation and stuff like that, as it actually holds the puppet inside of it, meaning that the puppet is what's controlling Lefty. So it's not really Lefty, it's just the puppet. But why did you have to, like, I mean, again, I think it's interesting that they made a whole encapsulation mechanic with this thing encapsulating souls and, of course, encapsulating the puppet, but how would they even get the puppet inside of the animatronic in the first place? How would that animatronic be able to just immediately take control of Lefty? And, like, it's just a mess with Lefty. Like, it's just annoying. I don't like the designs that much at all. But anyways, let's get into the flaws. And there's actually quite a lot I wanted to go over with you guys. Starting with, of course, the animatronic designs. Like I said, pretty much everything I said before. You can just add that onto what I'm saying right now. I do not like the animatronic designs in this game, except for possibly Scrap Baby, but she's kind of irrelevant to exist in this game. Like, I'm wondering why she even exists in this game if Ennard exists in this game. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. Anyways, though, that's already one flaw down. And flaw 2, the gameplay is bland. The gameplay is bland. Like, there's no unique animatronics, and the tasks you have to do each night don't change. Like, you constantly are doing the same thing every single night, but it's just another animatronic being added that does the same thing. It's pretty much like saying, I have 5 Freddys in the vents, and each night they add a Freddy. That's it. That's pretty much the gameplay of this game. And of course, the gameplay of the game is actually extremely difficult if you are getting all the animatronics, which is another thing I don't like, how something so simple and bland, but also so freaking difficult. It does not need to be this difficult for such boring gameplay. Like Fnaf 2, this does this better. It has a lot of animatronics, but the gameplay is not boring. The gameplay is chaotic, but it's fun because there's a lot of interesting animatronics that you gotta pay attention to. So, like, this game just makes it so hard, but doesn't make winning very enjoyable, especially if it takes a lot of time to actually complete the night, since the nights are reliant on you actually finishing your tasks instead of just surviving. So, yeah, I don't like the gameplay aspect at all. It's pretty boring, and on the later nights, very, very tedious. Like, I do not like playing this game every now and then. Like, and I've only beaten this game once. That's how hard it is. That's how hard this is. And I only beat it because of one strategy that didn't work on night 6, but worked on the final attempt. So, like, yeah. Anyways, though, on to the third flaw, which is, of course, that the game feels kind of rushed. Now, hear me out. I'm not saying rushed as in there's a lot of bugs, or if it's low quality, or if it just, like, bugs out, or anything like that. It is smooth and works very well, but, like, I'm talking about the main gameplay. Like, the pizzeria simulator aspect is fun, but it gets boring after a while, and the in-game nights are already boring. And the animatronic designs aren't even that interesting. Like, I mean, I get he spent some time on the animatronic designs, but, like, they're still not that interesting. They're pretty much just bodging up the faces we've seen over the years, such as, and then just giving us a Lefty, which is supposed to be holding the puppet, and I don't know who Lefty even is or how it was created, but Lefty is here, so yeah. And then, of course, the thing that pissed me off the most about this game, that it's boring, it feels rushed, is that the ending. They throw so much at you for the ending. It's like they're trying to compensate for the boring gameplay throughout the entire game by throwing all of this lore at you, trying to wrap everything up at the end, and then, of course, trying to be an end to the game with them burning all the animatronics, burning the last of the souls, and, of course, Henry saying his goodbyes to the lost souls and his business partner. And, it just feels rushed. They just drop so much at you at the very end of the game, and I don't think that's a very satisfying ending, and makes for a pretty rushed ending. Now, like, I don't know any other way this could have happened, honestly. Like, they had to Scott had to try to end the game at some point, and the fact that this game came out of nowhere, like, we've been waiting for a year, and then this came out of nowhere, it just feels just completely out of the field, like, completely random and somewhat rushed, and I don't like that at all, really. And that actually kind of leads on to my final flaw of the game, which is the supposed ending itself, because it's a very lackluster ending. Now, the lore dump is pretty freaking interesting, and seeing the animatronics burn is interesting, along with everything the game's trying to wrap up, but of course the execution of it is extremely flawed. Like, pretty much all the nights are the same. Like, night 6 is the same as night 5, so why not just give us the ending on night 5 instead of have to do the same thing on night 6? It's pretty anticlimactic that the game is just, it's very difficult, but very bland and basic, to the point where it's like, alright, you completed pretty much the same night twice, here's your ending cutscene, go home, you've completed the game, and it's supposed to be the end. Which isn't even the case, as Scott Cawthon announced that Fnaf VR was going to come out soon after this game did. So, this isn't even the ending of Five Nights at Freddy's in general. And there are other FNAF games that were also supposed endings, but they did it better. Like, more satisfying. Like, FNAF 4 had things switch up, as you must deal with all the regular animatronics at 1:12 to 3 a.m. and then face off against a new animatronic in Nightmare from 4 to 6 a.m. and then, of course, giving you the final box lore cutscene before wrapping everything up. And then With FNAF 3, it has you completing all these secret mini games that make you feel accomplished for finding all these secrets. And then, of course, finally ending it by trapping the main enemy, the main antagonist of the game, in a pretty difficult night by doing all these secret mini games. So FNAF 3 and 4 are also kind of supposed endings, but they execute it a lot better. Where this game, it executes its ending very, very poorly, and it pisses me off that this game tried to be the end of FNAF, and not even a good one. Like, it just kind of seemed like he just dumped all the lore and wrapped it all up, instantly trying to get this game series finished. Which, again, I do understand. You want to move on to other things, I get it. You thought the series needed to end, and I understand that. But it didn't really end after this game came out. And that kind of set up the foundation for Steelwool Entertainment to, of course, own the game franchise now as it is. But anyways, though, that's pretty much the flaw with the ending. Anyways, on to my conclusion. Honestly, FNAF 6, I know I showed a lot of hate on it, but I don't really hate FNAF 6. Again, like I said, I don't really hate any of the FNAF games. It's just this one I think I hold a grudge against, mainly because it was trying to be the end of FNAF, even though it wasn't all that good. The gameplay is also very annoying to me and unnecessarily difficult. I mean, it shared some interesting ideas, but in the end of the day, it's just a lot of botched up things, and of course, with the ending that tries to wrap everything up, end the series as it is, and just, well, be the end of FNAF. And this is definitely not my go-to game. Again, like I said, I only finished the game for the first time on this playthrough, and never played it, never touched it again since. And I definitely don't recommend this as a first-time play. It is completely different from any FNAF game, as it does change the formula again completely from FNAF Sister Location. But, yeah, definitely not my first FNAF game. And is only my go-to FNAF game, and is actually I guess the only FNAF game you could say I can come close to actually hating. Now, if this wasn't a FNAF game and it was some other horror game, then I would definitely hate it. But, of course, FNAF holds a special place in my heart, so even if this isn't my go-to FNAF game, and I do show some hate for it, and seem a bit agitated by the game, I don't necessarily hate it. It's the closest game I come to hating, but again, it's a part of my childhood. I grew up with FNAF when this game came out. I was excited when the game came out and I got to see the gameplay, but when I got to it myself, I was just left unamused, unentertained. It just kind of dragged on, to be honest, and the lore is very interesting. I'm not gonna lie, like, this game is heavily heavy. Like, the story is literally just of Henry setting up his front of a pizzeria to gather the last remaining souls, and then finally lay them to rest along with his business partner, who's been causing chaos and death for kids and all this. And I mean, I guess the idea of that is interesting and cool, but again, the execution's not all that good. But like I said, this is not my go-to FNAF game. I do hold some type of a grudge against it, and again, like I said, I don't necessarily hate it. It just, I feel kind of indifferent to FNAF 6, at least compared to the other games. I think it has the most flaws and does something, just botches up a lot of things, and is not really all that interesting unless you're talking about the lore. So, but with that said, that's the end of my FNAF 6 review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think of Five Nights at Freddy's 6. I know I seem a little agitated at the end of this video, but trust me, it's alright, guys. It's alright. It's alright. I don't hate FNAF 6. I just wish it was better, honestly. I think it could have been better, too. But anyways, like I did say, this is the end of my FNAF review, or the end of part 6 of my FNAF review series. Let me know what you guys think of Five Nights at Freddy's 6 in the comments down below. And I do not like how this game was trying to be the supposed ending of FNAF. But anyways, like I said, though, with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Stay safe, have a great day and or night, and I'll see you guys in part 7 of my FNAF review series. Ultimate Custom Night. The most chaotic FNAF game. Later, Gators.